Your responses are interjections. Leave your answers to our questions and we'll talk about them all way. The most built commander on EDH Rec is Golos, and it has 6,037 decks submitted. The number 100 commander on the top 100 commanders on EDH Rec is Krupi with 1,275 decks built. We want to know about the commanders that have way fewer decks than that.
We're talking about the sleeper commanders. They're not even on the top 100, but they're also very viable, and they may be worth your attention, and the video starts right now.
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below.
Hello and welcome to The Day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We have got some community interaction on the channel today. Hooray! Hooray! We ask you about the top sleeper commanders.
I want to do my hooray.
Do your hooray.
Hooray!
We ask you about your favorite sleeper commanders, the commanders that people don't seem to play, but you think are just incredibly strong. We're going to get into those, but before we do, if you would, go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out.
It's the best way to support the channel with just the click of a button. If you are a fan of ours, then head on over to Patreon. That's a great way to support as well. We've got some great commanders to talk about today that aren't even in the limelight. They might be your commander. You might be like, no, they're actually really good. Let us know in the comments.
Sleeper commanders in the year 2021. When you go to EDH Rec right now, old Golos Tireless Pilgrim, Jake. This is the number one deck on EDH Rec over the last 2 years. Over 6,000 decks submitted with our Tireless Pilgrim at the hand. So we know we wanted to have fewer than 6,000. I went and looked at the top 100, and number 100 on the list is Krupi's God of Horizons. Jake, this one has 1,275 decks built on EDH Rec.
Wow.
So yeah. I know we wanted to shoot lower than that as well.
Golos, it's one of these cards that when it enters, it tutors up a land. This is one of those cards where no maximum hand size, your mana doesn't empty. It's very attractive, big Simic card. We know that a lot of Simic cards in recent MTG history have been super pushed. Let's talk about the cards that aren't the big heavy hitters.
Absolutely. Our first suggestion came from Sydney M, and Sydney M said that their Khazar Ruthless Stalker and Ukkima Stalking Shadow deck is really where it's at. When I look up these partner commanders, they have 875 decks built on EDH Rec, so I think that's where the top of our line sits for sleeper commanders. We're going to only look at commanders with fewer decks than that from here on out. But Jake, with Ukkima and Khazar's putting +1/+1 counters on creatures you control whenever they deal combat damage as just a passive effect. And Ukkima, the Whale Wolf, can't be blocked, and when it leaves the battlefield, it deals X damage to target player and you gain X life, where X is its power. And so I feel like a card like Winding Constrictor, very simply, really encapsulates the strategy here. If one or more counters would be put on your creatures, you put that many +1. If you would get counters, you get that many counters +1.
Yeah, I think the thing about Khazar and Ukkima is just the fact that there are so many other commanders in these Sultai colors that are being chosen before them. But I do think that there's a lot of power here. There's a lot of infinite potential. I remember, you know, everybody always talks about Food Chain and just how good it is in anything green, but in this particular combination, it also works really well. Yeah, I think that these are really, really strong. And again, you can't really go wrong with these colors.
No, not at all. Our second one on the list comes from Ruby Red with 692 decks built on EDH Rec. We've got Kelsien the Plague. Jake, I've played this commander a little bit, and it's very, very fun. It's a machine gun commander, sort of a goblin sharpshooter type ability here, and it pairs well with Basilisk Collar.
Yeah, so the signature card for this deck is Basilisk Collar. I mean, clearly it's going to give Kelsien Death Touch and Lifelink. It doesn't untap like Goblin Sharpshooter, but it is going to kill something. You're going to get an experience counter, and then again, Kelsien is going to get +1/+1 for each experience counter that you have. And remember, these experience counters, this isn't the kind of thing that your opponents can interact with. This is something that you are going to generate. It is going to stay there, and then you are going to be able to get the most out of Kelsien, which again has vigilance and haste. So Kelsien is in theory swinging, getting through, Vigi and haste. and then when it needs to, ping something and kill it. So yeah, very strong commander. I actually really like those Mardu colors as well. I really wish that they had more room to shine. Azami, Lady of Scrolls, 3 blue, 2 other, legendary creature, human wizard. Tap an untap wizard you control, draw a card. 0-2, very simple, but oh man.
This one came from Dylan C. Dylan C, this one's got 650 decks built on EDH Rec, so you can see we're sort of working down the food chain here as far as the amount of decks submitted for a certain commander. With Azami, that draw a card, I mean, I always say it, staple draw a card onto a commander, and you've got yourself a pretty damn good commander right there. Tapping an untapped wizard, you're obviously in mono blue here, you're playing tribal wizards. It does sort of force you down a certain path of building, but luckily there are enough wizards in MTG that you do get to kind of pick and choose the strategy that you want to use. Do you want to go aggressive wizards? Do you want to go control wizards? Something like that. I know that with wizards, you can pick Snapcaster Mage to go into the deck. You just get to pick from the top wizard cards of the entire universe of MTG and shove those into this deck.
They're strong.
Yeah.
Wizards are a pretty strong tribe. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. With Snapcaster Mage, obviously this is the more of a spell-based build, more of a control-based build, but you can play aggressive wizards as well. Because with Azami, you're just going to get to draw cards whenever you tap one of the wizards you control.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they have Summoning Sickness, because this is an effect that is on Azami. And yeah, that draw card. So say your opponents want to wipe the board, well, just make sure to stack your triggers correctly, draw before all of your wizards get blown up. You're going to have a nice stacked hand ready to go. The only thing I don't like about it is it's monocolor, so you go into mono blue when you play it, and you deal with the perils that do come with playing monocolor deck.
Potential to be a really sleeper deck at the table too. I'll worry about that deck later sort of mentality, but then they've kept their hand full the entire time and they're keeping up with board state of everybody, and you're like, how are you doing this? And it's because you're tapping your wizards to draw cards. Taigam Ojutai Master is our number 4 on the list. Brody B suggested this one. 457 decks on EDH Rec, so we are getting far away from that number 100 commander with 1,275 here at 457 for Taigam. Instant sorceries dragons can't be countered by spells or abilities, and whenever you cast instants or sorceries from your hand, if Taigam had attacked this turn, that spell gains rebound, which means essentially you get another copy of that at the beginning of your next upkeep. So you might want to build this with the instants and sorceries in mind, and build instants and sorceries into it that have solid effects, either drawing cards, returning things, bouncing, you know, whatever you want to do. You don't want it to be like counter spells per se, because that counter spell is just going to rebound at the beginning of your next upkeep and not really do that much. So Jake, I mean, let's just go simple. We'll run Treasure Cruise with Taigam, and then when Treasure Cruise rebounds at the beginning of our upkeep, we get to go cruising again.
I think that's really good. And the other way that I would build this deck is to make sure to include Whisper Silk Cloak type effects, right. Anything that's going to allow Taigam to get through unblockable matters in this situation, because if you do want to pull double duty on those cards and get the most out of your spells, you do want Taigam to be attacking. But yeah, anything instant sorcery and dragon spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities. There's a reason why, like the Dovin's Vetoes, the Abrupt Decays, all of the can't be counters, the Slaughter Games, those kind of cards are very attractive to players, because Force of Wills, Pact of Negations, Mana Drains,
right?
Any kind of counterspell, it's out there, and a lot of people like to play blue. I think there's a lot of value here, and it's honestly a card that, man, I never think about this card.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the point of the sleeper commanders, right? Is to go, oh, wow, that actually could be really powerful in the right build.
And then you're also playing dragons? Like,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
Cool.
That's what I was going to say. I love an Azorius deck that is focused on like attacking and playing dragons. That's really funny to me. And so Taigam, Brody, I really like that suggestion of it being a strong sleeper commander, because that's, I completely get it. Bobby Z, patron of ours, suggested Elegeth Crossroads Augur, and when he suggested it, I went, now hang on, this card just came out, it's got to be super popular. It says draw that many cards, that's huge on a Sphinx for only 6 mana, plus it's a partner. There's got to be a ton of decks. Jake, you'd be surprised, there's only been 378 decks with Elegeth as the partner submitted to EDH Rec as of the time of me researching this video. So 378, again, multiple steps away from that 1,275 of the number 100 played commander. So Elegith absolutely qualifies as a sleeper. But Jake, if you would scry a number of cards, draw that many cards instead, that seems absolutely busted. And Jake, I've got a little surprise for you. Look at what card I pulled for Elegith Crossroads Augur.
Oh, it's beautiful.
This card goes way back for us. This was one of Jake's
I love this card so much.
Penultimate favorite cards right when we started playing EDH. And so I had to take the opportunity to put Crystal Ball in a video with.
I still have my foil Crystal Ball, dude.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, great card. And also the thing I think that's holding Elegith back, aside from honestly excellent synergy with Scry. Yeah. And also the partner is very good and the flying, the evasion, but it's just that casting cost is a little steep. So it needs something good to be paired up with and partnered up with to really shine.
Elegith seems really cool, and it also seems like the kind of commander that we're going to see way more decks with over the next year. I think that the fact that it's still qualified as a sleeper is only due to its age, and people haven't really explored it yet, which is a thing that I think about this next one, our number 6 on the list, submitted by Fuzzy Rabbit, 378 decks built for Wyleth, Soul of Steel. In my opinion, the strongest Boros commander that we've got. It's centric to auras and equipments, yes. It's centric to attacking, yes. But Boros, isn't that what you want to be doing anyway? Wyleth is an aggressive deck, and with only 378 decks built, it's still a sleeper. This was one of the pre-con commanders from last year, late last year. But, I mean, one of the best artifacts in Commander, period, is Sunforger, and this card plays so well with it. You're unattaching Sunforger. You're going to go get a red or white instant with CMC4 or less, probably something that's going to give all your stuff indestructible, and you're going to be able to survive a board wipe. And Wyleth, when it's attacking, you're drawing cards for each aura and equipment attached to it, so you're keeping your hand full. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't even have to get through. Wyleth just seems really strong to me.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, a little bit of data behind the curtain here, but we created videos for both Wyleth and AC, and AC far and away ahead of Wyleth, and I think it does speak a little bit to the fact that Wyleth, just people know historically that Boros has trouble in EDH. This card does have velocity attached to it, which is one of the big things that Boros really needs, is to be able to draw cards and stuff. I think that this card is very strong, and I do think a little bit of how underplayed it is has to do with it being in its infancy as far as in the MTG multiverse. But yeah, very strong card, and I think in the future, with more support, it will really grow.
The next one, our number 7 on the list, is a little controversial. I just want to warn you in advance. With only 185 decks built on EDH Rec, I think the controversial nature of this commander is what's making it qualify as a sleeper, and also the fact that it was only acquirable through a secret layer, and I'm talking about Negan the Cold-Blooded. I'm going to be honest, I've played with this commander on MTGO, I've played against this commander on MTGO, and licensing IPs aside, this card is very good. This commander slaps. Blake F suggested this one to us, acknowledged the fact that it was, you know, a little bit of a controversial one, and that's maybe why people aren't playing it. And again, 185 decks built in EDH Rec. People aren't really playing this commander, and they really should be, Jake. It's very, very strong. I wanted to have Revel in Riches as our signature card for Negan the Cold-Blooded, just because it's a win condition, and whenever creatures an opponent control dies, you're getting treasure tokens, so you're getting 2 treasure tokens.
In a lot of ways, Negan is very much a pirate.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Jake, at number 7, I did really want to include Negan the Cold-Blooded because the commander is very strong and it is widely underplayed, and that is what the definition of a sleeper commander is to me.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, you have a card right here that would otherwise be seeing a lot more play if it weren't in this IP. I mean, let's just be completely straight up. There's a legion of players that just don't want to play with these cards or acknowledge that they exist.
And that's fine.
And yeah, that's fine, but you know, certain people are going to want to play with these cards. If you don't like Negan, just make sure to kill Negan first. I like the ability as well. I think it's a very strong ability. It is very much a political head game with this card. I've played against it a couple times, and I do agree with you. It is very strong. Next up, with 431 decks, we have Cedrus the Traitor King, and this is actually not a community suggested deck. This is a deck that is very dear to us because one of our friends, honestly, you know, one of the creators of Juice and Packs, who's not part of this channel, this was his deck, and he would unearth crazy stuff like Great Whale and have some very explosive turns. A lot of times, you know, the deck would kind of peter out, but he did have some very strong moments. But 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, 3 other for 5/5. Zombie Wizard. Each creature card in your graveyard has Unearth. Return the card into play. The creature gains haste. Remove it from the game at the end of the turn. So very explosive shotgun blast, trying to get a ton of power, raw power into the yard with, you see Buried Alive right here. 1 black, 2 other, search your library for up to 3 creature cards, put them into the graveyard, then shuffle your library. So go grab huge, big, splashy creatures.
We included this one, like Jake said, for our friend Biff. This deck in and of itself was the deck that taught me to run Bojuka Bog when I could, that taught me to run Graveyard Hate, especially instant speed Graveyard Hate, because once Cedrus got set up and put the cards in the graveyard that wanted to be there, and the combo was ready to fire off, it was very hard to stop. Next one up is Liesa's Shroud of Dusk. This is my most recent pet commander. I've been really working hard on this deck, and it's just super fun to play. It's got 718 decks built on EDH Rec, and so in its very short lifespan, it has rocketed up, almost getting into that top 100 number. I have no doubt that by the time we're, shooting a Sleeper Commanders 2022, that Liesa will firmly be in the top 100, because it's just such a fun commander to play. And it just sort of slowly bleeds everybody out. You want to stack effects like Liesa has, like with Comball, Console of Allocation. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell they lose to, you gain to. And you just sort of are slowly draining everybody over time. And I remember everybody got down into the 20s life totals, and somebody goes, holy crap, everybody's already at 20, what's going on? And it was just all these different little taxes, 1 life here, 2 life here, 1 life here, 2 life here, that were contributing toward Liesa being a very strong
and that
commander.
lifelink. Ooh, God, that is just so good to have on your commander, because just being able to get in hasty and swing for a nice little life chunk, that can mean a big thing.
Hasty with boots is what you mean. I think I had the Commander's boots on there when we were playing Commander the other night.
Yeah.
So I would suggest our number 9 Liesa with 718 decks built on EDH Rec. I would suggest that as a sleeper commander. And Jake, here he is in the flesh, our number 10 pick, Kaervek the Merciless.
Getting the legendary border treatment from Time Spiral Remastered, Kaervek the Merciless, 199 decks. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, 199, 1 black, 1 red, 5 other for a 5/4. So very expensive commander, but it has a very wonderful, griefy, triggered ability. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, Kervek the Merciless deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost to any target. Now, it's not going to deal commander damage to face. It just goes to any target. That's why the effect is it's so powerful, and why the card costs so much. It's one of my very favorite commanders, and I really do like to resolve it after a card like Havoc Festival. Players can't gain life at the beginning of each player's upkeep. That player loses half of his or her life rounded up. So once you've resolved Havoc Festival, and if you have Wound Reflection, I mean, the game is over. But once you've resolved this, play Kaervek, just kind of ride out the game. Players are trying to figure out either, how do I kill Kaervek? How do I win this game before my life total goes away? And Kaervek acts as a really nice lock. Just lets you ping them in the face if they try to do anything about it.
That is our sleeper commander picks for the year 2021. We tried to pick commanders that had fewer decks built than old Golos here, and I really like the picks that we came up with. Thank you so much to the community. We asked in our community tab for help with this video, and we got a ton of responses. Thank you to everybody that responded. We picked the 7 that we really liked from that list, but we really appreciate everybody's input on that. We will have more videos like this. Make sure you check out our commander playlist for all of our commander videos.
Yeah, what's your sleeper commander? Leave it in the comments, and we will be there to talk to you, and we can have a chat about it. And until next time, we'll see you on the Flippity.